Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, shockingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everyone. Tonight is Tuesday, February 24th, 2026. This is live stream 1291. If you're not familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here, just hanging out, sharing the latest in tabletop role-playing game news, and then I'll usually pontificate about a topic related to our hobby, which I will be doing tonight. Maybe every once in a while we'll do an AMA, and, maybe chew the fat with chat for a bit. But for the most part, we're just having fun. We are certainly not engaged in rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. By now, you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And then, of course, because this is a live show, there is chat available. Now, you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour before you can take part in chat. But if you check off that box and you want to say howdy, maybe get a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my very best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Kevin R. Smith. Semper Buffos with us, as is Mike W. Forge, the Madman, No Limelight Productions, Kevin King, Zarkwan, Danny Gable, and possibly the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D. Another of our chat moderators alongside the Madman. She might be lurking in the shadows with her glittery banhammer. You never know. You never know. So welcome aboard, everybody. Before I jump into the news, I did want to mention a little bit of a change, a little bit of a tweak. So what I used to do is I did not publicly post the news articles on thegaminggang.com until the next day after the show. So I really didn't want to steal like the news thunder from the dispatch. I've come to realize it probably doesn't matter either way. So what I would like to do is I actually started it today. I will share the news pieces on thegaminggang.com prior to the show going live, or I will do my best to do that. That way, if you're watching the show and I'm talking about something and you're like, I want to learn a little more about that, you'll be able to go to thegaminggang.com. You'll see the news piece. Click on that. It'll have all the links, all the info. So that way you can follow up on it right away rather than waiting until the next day when a news piece pops up at 5 o'clock in the morning Central Time. It's usually how that works. So just want to let you know. Let's see. We also have Kathy Evans and Mark Hawkswell joining us in chat. So chat is rocking and rolling already. Let's jump on into the news because landing in PDF right now over at DriveThruRPG from Two Little Mice and Free League Publishing is the eagerly anticipated Outgunned Superheroes. Here's the scoop. The world needs you. Out there, it's full of criminal bosses in white suits and CEOs with no remorse who get rich on the backs of honest citizens. of doctors and professors who dress like animals and act as if they have a right to destroy the city in the middle of rush hour, of haywire artificial intelligences and plum-faced aliens who've decided that there is too much humanity in the universe. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. But even in the darkest hour, the good people of the world can always look up to the sky in hope. What is that? A bird? Is it a plane? Neither. It's you. It's time for you to join the fray, use your incredible powers to defeat the bad guys, and show the universe what you're made of. Doesn't matter if you can't hold on to a job or if you don't even have the money to pay rent. Doesn't matter if your partner left you because you're never there or if the papers slander you. When the world calls, you are ready to answer because you are a hero. Outgunned Superheroes is a cinematic tabletop role-playing game inspired by classics of the superhero genre, from the unforgettable Spider-Man trilogy to the great crossovers of the MCU, all the way through Iron Man, Batman, X-Men, and many others. Wow, they just give a little tip of the cap to DC there. And I notice it's like their focus is on movies. How about the comic books themselves? In Outgunned Superheroes, the players take on the roles of, well, you guessed it, superheroes standing against an evil villain who has become a threat to their city, the world, or the whole universe. Outgunned Superheroes is a genre book in the Outgunned line, and you can play it either standalone or as an expansion for Outgunned. The 264-page PDF is available right now over at DriveThruRPG for $19. The hardcover is still expected to arrive in stores sometime in June. Hooray! I got to tell you, there is a lot of Free League publishing stuff going on right now. The videos I've shared, stuff I've got coming up, news all over the place. It's sort of like, yeah, it was kind of quiet from Free League for a little bit, and now all of a sudden, it's like the floodgates have opened, and from Two Little Mice as well. So we've got some releases from them that I'll be talking about actually all this week. So very nice. I know a lot of people were pretty excited about this. I would like to take a peek at this because I like Outgunned. Some folks, I've heard some folks talk about, well, you know, the dice mechanic, it's too much like Yahtzee. It's not, it's push your luck. That's about as close to Yahtzee as it gets. But still, we played Outgunned Adventure for a couple of sessions for an adventure, and we had fun. The gang had a good time. So, I don't know. But I would like to take a peek at this. And speaking of superheroes, tonight's topic, which was mentioned last week in chat, I figured, you know what? We'll try to tackle this tonight. I don't know if I've got answers. Maybe more people in chat will have better answers about this than I will, but the question was, how come it seems like superhero role-playing games just, you know, you just can't get campaigns as a game master. You can't get them off the ground. And I have heard that. I have heard that from game masters for years and years and years, that it's nearly impossible, even when people are excited about a superhero role-playing game, nearly impossible to get a long-running or at least maybe a ongoing campaign running. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. That will be our topic. Kevin R. Smith's asking, am I the only person who occasionally thought a Yahtzee-like task resolution would be a cool idea for an RPG? Like I said, I think the dice mechanic's fine. I don't think it's that big a deal. I guess, well, here's the thing. I have noticed that quite a lot of people like to whinge about stuff who have no idea what it is. So I had gotten some, like, not necessarily pushback, but I had gotten some critiques from people regarding my review of the Player's Handbook for second edition 13th Age. And they were like, well, I don't have it, but, in first edition, I haven't seen this book, but, it was kind of like, okay, so you're going to argue with me about certain points of a game that you've never even seen. Well, I'm familiar with the first edition. It's like, okay, all right. Anyway, but yeah, I noticed that as well. Azrael Ophion is with us in chat. Welcome aboard. And Bamboozled Great Crowd is also joining us. I believe it might be a first-time visit because that nickname's not necessarily ringing a bell. Then again, it could be a longtime viewer who's undergone the nickname change that's good old YouTube forced on people. Yes. Do you see that Sarah D is with us tonight? Very cool. Very cool. Pete Straklich is also in chat. Let's see. I thought I saw something else. Oh. Ezreal Ofan says, or Fion says, this is the only news they watch anymore. Thank you. Much appreciated. And Captain Finity, Time Travel Police, is with us. So, like I said before, chat is really rocking and rolling. Pretty sweet. Pete Straklich says it's like writing a Superman comic. It's difficult because the guy can do almost anything. I've always ran my superhero games in a Secret Wars format. Battle to the death. It's great. And Bamboozled Great Crowd says they finally subscribed. Well, welcome aboard. Thank you. Moving right along, now available in print for the second edition of the Advanced Fighting Fantasy role-playing game is the Dwarven Halls campaign. Here's the latest from Arion Games. An epic journey to save Stonehaven. This campaign will take a party of intrepid heroes through caves, dungeons, and other subterranean locations to the dwarf town of Stonehaven, where they will face their greatest challenge, trying to save the town and its people. Containing specific rules for hero creation, expanding the campaign, and optimizing the experience, this full experience is likely to take 30 to 40 game sessions to complete, creating a truly epic journey below ground with a suitably memorable final showdown. On the way, the heroes will find monsters, traps, challenges, NPCs of all kinds, and plenty of strangeness, as you would expect on the world of Titan. This campaign is suitable for novice or experienced directors and players. It does require the Advanced Fighting Fantasy 2nd Edition rulebook. Now, the 211-page hardcover with PDF is available by way of DriveThruRPG. It is available for $45. I believe it's also available in a soft cover. For some reason, I seem to recall it was $35, maybe. Now, of course, if you just want to grab the PDF, you can do that as well for $20. I'm curious. Well, I shouldn't say I'm curious. I have always been curious about Advanced Fighting Fantasy because I know it's inspired by the Fighting Fantasy books of yesteryear. And I've always been kind of curious about how detailed the rules are. If this is a very, very rules light sort of role-playing game, or if it's got a little bit of crunch to it, I don't know. But I am kind of curious about it. Maybe one of these days we'll find out. Don't know. I don't know. Kevin R. Smith points out that that's a Superman-specific problem. Not all supers are that powerful. And they think Marvel solved the Superman problem by having all their heroes at that power level mostly hanging out in space or having issues that can hamstring them so that they can either they can't control their powers, so then they don't use them, or they lose their powers. So, as an example, the Incredible Hulk used to always change back to Bruce Banner, right? The Hulk was, at least back in the early days of Marvel, back when people were members of the mighty Marvel marching band, then the Hulk was the strongest, but never knew when the Hulk was going to turn back into puny Bruce Banner. Kevin King says there was a Supers game that was inspired by God Loves, Man Kills back in the 80s. Being too powerful was not our problem. Very nice. Taco Loco is joining us. Welcome. Good to see you. On to our third news piece. Now available in print and PDF for Call of Cthulhu and Trail of Cthulhu and other Cthulhu-related role-playing games is issue 6 of Bayt al Azif. Here's what I know. The magazine dedicated to adventuring against the Cthulhu mythos continues. Issue 6 includes a scenario for Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. In the chaos of 1808 occupied Spain, a missing scholar must be found. Sounds kind of interesting. Right? It's like, oh, okay, so it's Napoleon's invasion. So yeah. So it'd be the French occupation going on then. I think that would be pretty cool. Pretty cool to Call of Cthulhu adventure. You'll also find an overview of every Cthulhu Mythos role-playing game release for 2022, 2023, and 2024. The Cthulhu Mythos in Earth's solar system. What humanity knows about astronomy. An interview with Akam, Lam, and Björnsson. I'm not sure what that would be. There's also advice, history, comics, and more. Assembling these issues is always a collaborative work. There are several sections and features that the creators really enjoy including in each issue. First, our role-playing scenarios. Well, the magazine isn't focused exclusively on scenarios. They feel including them really adds an inherent value and usability to each issue. If you're a player, share your copy with your game master, or maybe try running a scenario for your friends. The long-running Cthulhu review, or Cthulhu review, I guess that's it. Yeah, there's no L. Cthulhu review of all the Cthulhu Mythos role-playing games that have come out, always thoroughly covered by Dean Engelhardt, is particularly enjoyable. It's a good look at the development and changes in what is being published in the field, and a great checklist of what you might have missed, as well as always finding some new game that's worth investigating. And the other side of this are all the creators and people who are part of the role-playing space. Often, the publishers only know people through their efforts or creations, so having a moment to get more into their thoughts through interviews adds a nice dimension and depth. The 128-page hardcover with PDF is available over at DriveThruRPG for $35. This is one that I know for a fact is also available as a soft cover. Although I would think if you're getting the soft cover, it's black and white, or grayscale, I should say. If you want to just score the PDF alone, you can certainly do that for $12. I got to say, I used to love picking up The Unspeakable Oath. What a fantastic zine that was for Call of Cthulhu back in the day. And it was from Pagan Publishing, if I remember correctly, which would also do third-party Call of Cthulhu adventures that were really nicely done. Sadly, they went the way of the dodo. But still, what a really chock full of goodness zine that was. Well, I'm kind of curious how Bayt al Azif is in comparison. I wonder. Let's see. DB has joined us in chat. Welcome. Said, this looks interesting. Yeah. Kevin King says it's Sharp versus Cthulhu. Yeah. Yeah, it would be, really. Nice. Bamboozle Great Crowd says Batman Gotham City Chronicles looks like a fun system. I have not really seen anything for it. Here's the weird thing about that. It's sort of, I don't want to say it was like under the radar, because I mean, it crowdfunded and did pretty well, but I don't think a lot of people were aware of it. I'm kind of curious about it. I believe it is more of a European style role-playing game. I can't say that for sure, but I think it is. Reading Aid is joining us tonight. Welcome aboard. Moving right along. Now You Can Breathe Games is releasing their short old school Renaissance adventures in print and PDF. Here's the skinny on Beneath Beatrice Blackwell's Basement. Said that 5 times fast. Rumors of long-lost smuggling tunnels promise untold riches to the crime family who can locate an entrance. The rising Murdoch clan is convinced that one of these access points is hidden under the old Blackwell family crypts. But the ruthless Blackwell matriarchs knew how to protect the secret of their smuggling empire with tricks, traps, guardians, and worse. The crime family sent their best delvers down into Beatrice Blackwell's basement, but none returned. Now the Murdochs are looking for outside support. Beneath Beatrice Blackwell's Basement is a layered scenario about a smuggling mafia trying to gain a local foothold, an old family crypt with a secret, and a kobold tribe with big ambitions. It's trap heavy and intended for a party, levels 2 to 3. The traps are all very fun and cool, not overbuilt gotchas. There's even a build your own trap on the fly section with advice for the referee. There's a classic gelatinous cube setup. Wow, there's a lot of spoilers here, eh? A kobold knight riding a fire beetle, and a very fun corpse scavenger hunt subplot that involves searching for the previous victims of the dungeon, the hapless first party sent down there to die. The PCs get paid per body recovered, and some of them require a little detective work to locate and remove. Most groups will take around 2 sessions to complete this delve. Now, I will mention that this only clocks in at about 7 or 8 pages. So it is a very small zine. If you want to get the physical zine, it's available for $6. If you want to just grab the PDF, it is $4. And I have heard through the grapevine that these are actually pretty cool adventures. So there is that. See, one of the things too with just doing a news show now, I can sit there and kind of shine a light on companies and creators more often. You know, people that we're not familiar with, maybe I'm encountering something for the first time. I don't necessarily have to be like, oh yeah, I got to get the news out about XYZ publisher because I'm always reviewing their stuff, right? So there you go. So there you have it. It's YouCanBreatheNow.itch.io. And our final news piece, Dungeoneers Guild Games has released the latest in their Dungeon Delves Advanced Dungeons and Dragons line. And here's a lowdown on Lords of Shadow. Decades ago, the Lords of Urgoza abruptly abandoned their lands and vanished from the realms of humankind. Ever since, the ruins of their stronghold, Orclace Castle, has loomed over the forlorn moors surrounding their Demnis. The once mighty castle now bears a sinister reputation. Tales of baleful witchfires, ghostly apparitions, and a mysterious huntsman leading a shadowy pack keep all but the most foolish away from the castle's storied halls. Wonder if there's some Baskerville hounds running loose. Recently, elusive lights have been seen in the castle's towers, suggesting its renewed habitation. Ravening brigands, Evil hobgoblins and worse now prowl the overgrown byways of Urgoza. More troubling still, wild rumors among the common folk hint that the lords of the castle, the errant Orcless family, have returned to reclaim their ancestral lands. For those dwelling in the castle's shadows, these foreboding signs suggest the return of the ancient evil that once haunted these lands. Lords of Shadow is a module for 5 to 8 characters of levels 5 through 7. In this adventure, the player characters investigate strange happenings that plague the forlorn moors. Villagers vanish without a trace. Strange monsters prowl the moors, and the shattered silhouette of Orclais Castle looms above the land like a wound in stone. Long ago, its ruling family was cursed and banished to the plane of shadow. Now they have returned, no longer mortal, but shades bound to darkness. To end the shadow's reign, the heroes must brave the haunted castle, confront its cursed lords, and uncover the relics that hold the key to salvation or damnation. That wasn't a very good laugh. Hang on. Because I needed a sip. That's got to wet the old whistle. Get ready. Get ready for it. Here it comes. Quite a bit better. This 48-page PDF is available over at DriveThruRPG for $9.99. All right, that sounds kind of cool. Sounds pretty interesting, and it's designed for AD&D, so you can pretty much break it out with a lot of retro clones. Maybe even enjoy yourself a little, I don't know, old school essentials, advanced fantasy with it. Maybe Tales of Argosa. Well, like I said, a lot of goodies you could bust out. All right, that is it for the news tonight. I should point out that I always share news from companies who do not rely on AI. I think it's important for me to mention that. I do not knowingly share news about any product that uses AI in its production or its artwork, or actually really any part of its creation. So that is very important to me, because I think it's very important to creators and artists out there as well. Anyway, as I mentioned, that is it for the news tonight. If you like the Gaming Gang, if you find that this is a valuable resource, there are a few ways that you can actually support the outlet, one of which is by way of our affiliate links to the One Bookshelf sites, such as DriveThruRPG, which I have mentioned a few times this evening with the news pieces. And to utilize our affiliate links is very easy. All you have to do is stop by thegaminggang.com, click on one of our banners. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get 5% of that sale. Easy enough. Now, of course, there are other ways that you can support the outlet, such as making a one-time donation by way of PayPal, or you can become a monthly member of our Patreon. You will find links in the show notes for those, and you'll also find a link, an invite link, actually, to Discord down in our show notes. It is certainly free to sign up and hang out, so be sure to hang with the gang over on Discord. Then on every live show, I like to give a shout out to our Patreon members. So tip of the cap to Kaval, Kevin R. Smith, Talzek, Sean O'Donnell, Herman Lutman, Gustavo Cavalho, Matt Weiss, Kevin King, Game Cat, RPG Munch, Tier 2 DM, Pete Strakulich, Dan Webb, Tessie Trekkie, Agile Monk, and the Madman. Thank you all very, very kindly. All righty. So we are going to talk about why it seems so hard to get superhero campaigns off the ground, or at least running for a while, as opposed to maybe, 1 or 2 sessions You have your session 0, create the characters, play a couple of sessions, and then they fizzle out. I hear about this all the time. That's coming up in just a little bit. A few things I want to mention. A lot of videos on the channel. Lots of new videos. So I shared my review of the Game Master's Guide for 2nd edition, 13th Age. So that is out. I shared a first look at Coriolis, the Great Dark, the Flowers of Elgarab. Very impressive. There's a bunch packed into this box. I will tell you that right now. For some strange reason, I saw a misprint as far as the price. So I said the price was $39.99. It's $49.99, but still, this is just, if you're curious about this, check out the video. Because just the campaign book alone is like 210 pages, thereabouts. And there's other goodies in that box as well. So that was another video I shared. I want to say there's like 4 videos. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, because one of them I shared today. So today I did an unboxing of the Pirate Borg starter set from my friends over at Limithron and Free League Publishing, which just arrived. So if you're curious, this is packed. This is absolutely packed. And I was like, wow, this is pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. So that is the new video today. I also received Down Among the Dead and the Game Master screen. So we'll actually be looking at both of these together in a single video that I will be sharing. And then I got some goodies from my friends over at Cubicle 7 Games. If I can reach it. I'm knocking over my soda because that would suck. So I got the Warhammer 40K Roleplay Day of Ascension card game. And then I got the Warhammer 40K Dark Tide, the card game. So I will have first look videos of these very shortly. So lots cooking, lots going on. So hopefully you've had an opportunity to check out some of the videos. Let's see. Agile Monk has joined us. Good to see you, Agile Monk. Hopefully you tuned in just as I was thanking all of our Patreon members. So I guess Agile Monk is under the weather. Well, sorry to hear that. Hopefully you feel better. W4 Jazz, Pirate Borg or Coriolis box set, which has more content? Well, okay, so the Coriolis books are larger and there is a higher page count. I gotta say though, it's probably a toss-up. It's probably really close to being a toss-up because one of the things I mentioned in the unboxing for the starter set for Pirate Borg is the fact that Pirate Borg adventures have a lot packed into them. There are a lot of random tables for certain plot devices and things like that. So you take the page count for a Pirate Borg adventure, let's say it's 20 pages. There is way, way more adventuring in those 20 pages than you might find in a 35, 40 page adventure for another role-playing game. So let's see. Bamboozled Great Crowd says you almost would have to play superhero RPGs as episodes. They're currently running Star Trek Adventures. Nice. They're playing Lower Decks. Sweet. And the missions are like playing an episode. I think that might work. Yep, we're gonna get into that in just a little bit. Pete Stracklet says the Pirate Borg starter set was great. The dice are going into my everyday dice bag. Yeah, those are really nice dice. They are resin dice. They're big, chunky. They got nice deep cuts to the dice as well. So that isn't the paint's not going to come off too easily. It's pretty sweet. So there is that. All right. We are going to talk about superhero role-playing games. in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission. Did I even change the intermission? I think I did. Yeah, I did. I changed it. I was like, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wait a second. Is it going to be the same? No, it's a different intermission. So let's give it a peek.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
What's your pleasure, sir or madam, and all you kiddies too? Sandwiches, freshly made from quality ingredients, soft drinks, cool, tangy, and refreshing. A hot dog? There you are, tender, juicy, done to a turn with some fixins. Hamburgers, ma'am? Just the way you like 'em, meaty, moist, and broiled to perfection. Soft drinks, kiddies? Take your choice, cold, tingly with flavor, all your favorite soft drinks for your selection. Something to eat for everyone, soft drinks to make your evening complete. Delicious, fresh, and satisfying to help your entertainment reach the peak of family fun.
You know, I really feel like something to eat now, some shrimp.
Want to stop?
Yeah. There's a Jack in the Box over there. Oh, just take a second.
All right, whatever you say.
Your order, please.
One order of shrimp, please, and hurry. Thank you very much, and keep the change.
Jack in the Box drive-through restaurants. Good food for people who just can't wait to eat.
Now, here comes Big Bruiser with light flashing. There's the wreck. That Big Bruiser up to it. This lever puts the power winch into action. And Big Bruiser does it again. Comes with jack, tools, fender, and spare tire to repair the wreck. Pickup truck included, too. Get battery-powered Big Bruiser by Marks.
I have a hunch I'm being followed.
Have you started drinking Wilkins Instant Coffee?
No. How?
I have a hunch you'd better start.
In the future, the world has survived. Romance has not.
Right, so we'll say a dinner, complete sexual encounter, optional episode in the morning, right?
I gotta run this past my own lawyer.
Pleasure is strictly business. But it will be possible to have the perfect mate. A Cherry 2000.
Looks great. Thanks.
Thoughtful. Desirable. She'll never run out on him. Just short out.
Sorry, kid. Total internal meltdown. Now, you got her basic memory right here. Vocal patterns, verbal, whatever. Basic voice. Don't look so glum. Your chassis is out for the count, all right? You got the chip. You go in, you pick yourself out a new model, you slide it in the slot. You got yourself your girl back in a brand new frame.
Give me a call if you find a Cherry. Cherry 2000.
Look, my friend, you're going to be a very old man, round in the middle and bone dry before you find one of those in these parts.
That's a chance I'll just have to take.
Then, the adventure begins.
Why don't you hire a tracker to go into Zone 7?
We got a policy against trackers in these parts.
Nobody goes into Zone 7.
You know, they got one of the original warehouses down there. Girls stacked on the shelves like pies.
I'm looking for someone to go into Zone 7.
I'm E. Johnson. You're not gonna find anybody better than me, mister. I'm not a machine. Do you know where they keep these babies? We call it the graveyard. It is the worst place in the zone. Well, maybe I can get in there and find this thing, but I need somebody riding shotgun in order to make it out in one piece.
I want you to chase those birds till they drop.
If you think it's tough to meet the right people now, wait till you go looking for a Cherry 2000.
DB. Oh, I'm sorry. It was W Forge. I thought it was DB pointing it out. Tim Thomerson brings the class. Oh, it was DB. Brings the class. Always brings the class. And then W Forge says, King of the B movies, 80 science fiction flicks. Yes. So, let's see. S. Goodley 7 in Vegas. I believe first time visit here in chat. Welcome aboard. Says, I'm seeing trailer for Cherry 2000. Is it still intermission? Well, now it's not. It was. It was the brief intermission, ladies and gents. Cherry 2000's all right. I mean, it's 80s science fiction movie. As I've said many times, I point this out to my nephew all the time. You know, when I was a kid, when many of you were younger too, you know, we got Star Wars once every 3 years. And then, of course, when we started getting the other Star Wars movies, they were like, all right, I guess. But, you know, nowadays, we get Star Wars every week. There's some new show or new movie, and it's like, holy cow. Growing up, it was like, well, yeah, okay. Went to the video store. What do they got at the video store? Let's see. Yeah, I guess Cherry 2000 looks like it might be all right. So it's Woody with Scoo sound. So it's Scooty. Okay, there we go. Scooty 7 in Vegas. Welcome. All right. So as I mentioned earlier, let's talk a little bit about science fiction role-playing games. Because from my experience, now I've picked up core books for role-playing games forever. I remember being in high school picking up Villains and Vigilantes. And I had the first edition of Champions. I have never picked up Mutants and Masterminds, though. And I had, let's see, I didn't have Phase Rip. I had the other TSR Marvel role-playing game, the one that came first, that was pretty lackluster, I guess I would say. But I don't know what it is where it's so difficult for game masters to get a campaign rocking and rolling with superheroes. So let's talk a little bit about that. As DB mentioned, in the summer of 81, they saw Escape from New York about 30 times. I saw it, I think 4. I saw it 4 times. DB says, Phaser was pretty damn good, man. That's what everybody always mentions. And, you know, it was funny, too, because I didn't realize how much content TSR actually released for that. I mean, it was just an insane amount of content out there. And wasn't there like a basic game and an advanced game? Isn't that how that worked with Marvel superheroes? And Agile Monk with a super chat, $4.99. Mentioning they also had the first edition of Champions and Villains and Vigilantes. Kevin R. Smith says the first obstacle getting a superhero game off the ground is that the most popular super RPGs, Champions and Mutants and Masterminds, have complicated character creation processes. I would think the new Marvel multiverse is probably doing all right. W4Jess, anyone remember Chock Full of Nuts? I don't think we really had, I know what it is. I don't think we really had that in the Chicago area. Pete Stracklet says they're a hardcore phase rip guy. Must have made a ton of characters and sent them all into a Secret Wars death match. Pete Stracklet likes characters dying in their gaming, I noticed. He likes to play your characters, to buy the farm. A lot of dirt naps taking place. Grim Shady 2, the Revengeinator, is also with us in chat. I believe it's a first-time visit. Says, I saw Cherry 2000 recently. Holds up as a fun 90 minutes. Yeah, exactly. It's not a terrible movie. It's all right. There were some way worse science fiction movies in the 80s and 90s than that. So, and funny enough, the trailer for it would lead you to believe that there's a lot more nudity in it than actually there is. I think it's been a long time since I saw it. I think there's like a nipple slip. That's about it. But that, watching that trailer, you would think, there's going to be some sexy time in this. Not really. Grim Shady asks, was Golden Heroes much of a thing in the States? I have heard of it. I've never seen it. I do not really have any knowledge of it. Bamboozled, great crowd, says, I don't think there's a superhero Borg yet. I don't believe there is either. You know what? I don't know if superheroes, I don't know how well the art punk movement would do with that, because I think most people like their superhero artwork to look kind of at least like superhero artwork. W. Ford says, GURP Super says the champions, hold my beer. Oh, you want in-depth character creation? Try champions. Oh, wait a second. GURPS just said, hold my beer. Kevin R. Smith is pointing out there is a retro clone of FaceRip. It's on DriveThruRPG. I know we've talked about that before. We've mentioned it before. They said now they heard there's more than one. So it might help to search for the cheapest if possible. I would take a guess that the old FaceRip content, that old TSR stuff, probably isn't available as PDFs. Because of licensing, that would be my guess. So, Laconic Lane is with us talking about Cold Storage that just came out. Said it was a fun 90-minute movie, C+, B-. Reminded them of the monster movies they watched with their dad. Probably a little more gore in Cold Storage, though, I would guess. DB says they played Champions, Villains, Vigilantes, as well as FaceRip. Chris Lundgren's popping on into chat. Good to see you, Chris. And Chris's cockatiel buddy is joining us as well. Anyway, I think one of the things that is kind of a challenge for superhero role-playing games is the power levels. And I would also say that with most superhero role-playing games, the powers are very specific. So one of the things about the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game that came out a couple of years ago now, I think it's been, those powers are like super specific. So it's like, shield powers, like for a Captain America kind of character, or Captain America himself, cosmic powers, things like that. And then it's kind of funny because then you start getting into like Doctor Strange, like sorcery and stuff, and then it's kind of abstracted. So I think that's a little trickier there. So I think one of the issues is just the power level. So I would think if you were going to run a superhero role-playing game, I think what most people look at, and I could be absolutely wrong, I would think most gamers, especially if it's a smaller group, are probably sitting there thinking, hey, you know what? A superhero role-playing game to me is more like Spider-Man, right? So Spider-Man, you got the Sinister Six, you've got his, gallery of villains, and Spider-Man's villains are not super powerful either. So they are kind of lower level powered super villains. So it's not like, you know, Dr. Doom usually shows up to tangle with Spider-Man. Now it'd be, you know, the Rhino or the Vulture or Sandman, what have you. So I think in a lot of ways, to really pull off an ongoing superhero campaign, you got to kind of have, you know, a bit of a lower power level, because I think the power creep is a real thing with role-playing games as far as superhero role-playing games. And if you start out where your characters are, you know, the Incredible Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, who can buy anything and build just about anything, where do you go? Where do you go from there? Or if you're going with characters like the Sentry, who is essentially the Marvel Universe avatar of Superman with emotional and mental issues. But I think it's very tough to start from there and go forward. I also think it's difficult for a game master to really express those sort of big epic battles effectively. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm, you know, just way off base, but I think superhero games just are not the easiest for game masters to describe as far as, you know, the action, the combat, things like that, because it's got to be over the top. Otherwise, it's not a superhero game, right? It's, you know, just an action game. I don't know. Let's see. Chris Langren says, I can't get into wearing tights and capes, but if I did, I'm a DC guy. And whoops, chat just disappeared on that. And there isn't a DC system that's still in print as far as I know. Well, they did the Mayfair DC, which they did tons for. That was another superhero role-playing game that, like Phase Rip, like, well, I shouldn't say Phase Rip, it's Marvel superheroes, that I was really surprised by how much content came out for DC heroes. I had the Batman book way back in the day, and it was DC heroes, but it was only Batman. Peace Racklett says, I'm really digging Valiant's Bloodshot character, not the Vin Diesel version. Gosh, no. Sadly, I don't have any time for Valiant. Valiant screwed over a lot of creators, a lot of artists. Yeah. When we used to years ago, when we share our comic book news on Sunday, they used to be part of the mix. Not anymore. They went through new ownership, and it's just. But funny enough, when they made their comeback, when Valiant made their comeback, their books were actually pretty good. They were pretty good. I know that I think the backers for the Invincible superhero role-playing game from Free League Publishing have gotten their, I think might be the beta copies of that. So that is also out there. Agile Monk says, yes, Valiant became a disappointment. Jeff Woody Art is popping on in. It's they're punching in for their lunchtime geek info. Tessie Trekkie says they prefer superhero games that focus less on the simulation of superpowers and more on the narrative side of superhero comics. I'm with you on that. I think you would also need to focus on that sort of campaign, Mass Next Generation is about their sweet spot. Isn't Masks powered by the apocalypse? Not that there's anything wrong by that. I'm just saying, because I've never taken a peek at it, but I could have swore it's powered by the apocalypse. Tessie Trek says, emulating superhero comics versus emulating a superhero world. Right. Edge Monk said hero systems ultimately evolved to where they started to not like it as much. Yeah, I got to be honest, I don't have a hell of a lot of experience with hero systems. They did send me some stuff one time, and what was it? Was it Fantasy Hero? Or was it? Because I don't think they sent me Champion stuff. I think it was Fantasy Hero they sent. And it was kind of a mess. It was kind of presented as if you already knew the system. And it was kind of like, I don't have like the hero, what are they, 6th edition, 7th edition, something like that. I'm like, I don't have that. So why is this being presented like, because it was not supposed to, well, maybe it was, and they just didn't make it more obvious that it was a supplement and you needed to have another book to use it. I don't remember that being brought up. So, do not know. Yes, Tessie Trekkie says Masks is powered by the apocalypse. So, Bart Sears XO and Turek was epic. It was actually a pretty decent comic publisher long ago. First Comics. In fact, I have some, I don't even know if they're still working with First. I don't even know if First is still, sure it's still floating around, kind of. But the Philbach brothers, we're pals with my brother and I. And they're probably best known for a lot of their Star Wars stuff for Dark Horse. But First Comics had, and now we're talking, this is like late 70s. They had one of my all-time favorite comics, John Sable. That was one of them. American Flag by Howard Chaykin. Absolutely love that. And it's funny because Howard Chaykin, he's still like this. He would launch a title, like maybe the first dozen issues, he'd be like super into it. And then be like, yeah, now I'm bored. And he'd like hand it off to somebody else. So yes, I remember the OG Rocketeer. DB's asking. In fact, it's IDW Publishing does the Rocketeer. They just launched, I should say they're launching a new The Rocketeer series. I think it's 4 issues. No Limelight Productions said that they and their wife calculated their tabletop role-playing game book collection over the past 3 years, and it totaled to about $9,000. Yikes. Talk about putting things into perspective. So as far as, funny enough, I have never tried to run a superhero role-playing campaign. I like comics. I like superheroes. I don't know. So Agile Monk with the super chat again says, do you ever remember American Flag by Howard Chaykin? Yeah, I just mentioned it. Is there like a delay? Is there like a big delay with chat? So Jeff Woody Art asks, am I reading any comics regularly? No, I don't. I'll pick stuff up from time to time, but it's usually comics that have been out for a while. Like I spent a little time checking out the Hellboy lineup, and I went in, there's like a reading order that they recommend. So I started on that because I like to read comics once in a while. What, you think a comic guy can't start some shit? Vertigo, that was an excellent line. Imprint, I should say, of DC, and it's back. They just brought Vertigo. They brought Vertigo back about a month ago because they had gone in, they had started doing, what were they calling it? DC Dark or something like that. And yeah, Vertigo had a lot of great comics. Deus Ex Machina, Why the Last Man. That was another one that I used to get all the time. Fables, love Fables. Fables was probably one of my all-time favorite comics. I've mentioned before, it's been years and years. My favorite comic book my favorite comic is kind of like a slice of life sort of comic, Strangers in Paradise by Terry Moore. Loved that series. And I just saw Terry Moore has signed a deal with Dark Horse that they're going to reissue, I guess, all of his stuff. So I'm like, oh, cool. Because he's been like a small imprint. Well, not even an imprint. Small publisher himself, Abstract Publishing, I want to say. DB says, I want an RPG in my favorite comics. 11 Rockets RPG, an 8-ball RPG. Kathy Evans mentioned they're playing Prowlers and Paragons. I was curious about that because I know I stumbled across that. I'm trying to remember. Did I not share news of it because it uses AI? I'm thinking that might have been the case. That I didn't share news about it because it was either that it utilized AI either in the artwork or the construction of the book, or I just couldn't find any interiors from it. So, Grim Shady says, buying issues is too much bother at this age. Trade collections make far more sense, which is funny because they talked about starting about what, 10, 15 years ago, they started talking about how trade paperbacks were going to be the death of the individual issues. I don't know about that, but the reality is, I mean, back in the day, like Superman, right? And when I'm talking Superman, I'm talking like 1940 Superman. Those issues would sell like 20 million copies. And then they were probably being read by about 100 million people because back then you got a comic book, you read it, and then you traded it with somebody else. It's like something you don't hear a lot about is during the Second World War and the Korean War to some extent. But during the Second World War, comic books were probably the most read out of any publication by servicemen overseas. And comic book companies would donate just cases and cases, crates of comic books. Let's see. Kevin King says, it'll be interesting to see if Free League creates a campaign for Invincible. I would think that was probably one of the items in the Kickstarter they did. I just shared news of the Kickstarter. I mean, Invincible's fine. I have no problem with Robert Kirkman. I've met him at Comic-Con. Talked to him for like 2 minutes. He was pretty nice. Pretty nice guy. But Roger Perdome and Coco B have popped on in. Pete Strackley says Spawn Dark Ages is sick. That's somebody else that I met a few times. Funny enough, Todd McFarlane used to watch videos on the Gaming Gang because he had started getting into war games. So, in fact, there's an interview I did with him. This is from quite a few years back. But yeah, we did an interview. And what was the game he was really into? It was from Academy Games. I think it's called Freedom. It's about the Underground Railroad. And he was like forcing his employees to play it with him. Well, not forcing them, but he was playing it a lot with like people who worked for Image Comics. Something else that I thought was pretty wild. I've heard people say pretty nasty things about Todd McFarlane. He's just never been anything but nice to me. So I don't know. Hey, everybody has their days, right? W4 asks, wasn't Godlike a supers RPG during World War II? I believe you are correct. I believe you are correct on that. I mean, there are a lot of superhero role-playing games out there. I'm not saying there's a glut, but there are quite a lot that are out there. Tiny Supers. If you're looking for something that's super rules light, it's like it uses the Tiny D6 system. The index card role-playing game, if I remember right, in the core book, there is a good section devoted to like superheroes and stuff. So yeah, so loads and loads of superhero role-playing games out there. As far as a genre for role-playing games, it doesn't scratch that itch that I've got. I would rather play straight up fantasy, horror, my Call of Cthulhu fix. Come on. Fantasy, epic fantasy, sword and sorcery fantasy. Superheroes, I mean, it's fine. If somebody was going to run a superheroes campaign, I'd play. I just probably wouldn't run a campaign myself. All right. So let's get ready to wrap up. There we go. Icons. That's another superhero role-playing game. And yes, Squiddy. That was it, right? Squiddy? Yeah. Woody with SQ. Squiddy says, yes, Index Card RPG definitely has that superhero theme section. Pulp Heroes versus Cthulhu. I include pulp action in my Call of Cthulhu. I always have, long before Pulp Cthulhu came out. But I do not do pulp heroes. I have pulpy action, two-fisted action, as I like to refer to it. But I never rolled out characters like the Shadow or the Spirit. Funny enough, I was going to share the Spirit trailer. God-awful movie that is. I'm telling you, Eisner was probably spinning in his grave. All it did is it looked like, what the hell? What was the movie with, well, actually, it was kind of Mickey Rourke's comeback. Is it Dark City? Why do I want to say that's the name of it? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, Frank Miller did the movie, and it was like, oh my God. And it just looked just like, like I said, I think it was called Dark City, because they even did Sin City. Thank you. Yeah, because I was going to say, because it was based on a Frank Miller comic. But the Spirit should have been much lighter in tone than what they did with that movie. Yes. So James Mitchell is with us in chat, also pointing out it's Sin City, dummy. No, he didn't say dummy, but yeah, it is. It's been so long since I saw that. No Limelight Production says Dark City was a good movie, though. Yes, I love Dark City. I think that's a great movie. And I think it still holds up really well, too. Pretty trippy. I don't remember who I showed that movie to. Maybe it was Elliot way back in the day. And he's like, no, man, I never heard of this. And he's like, we watched it. And he's like, dude, that was awesome. I was like, yeah, I know. It was pretty cool. Pretty good movie. All righty. So that is it for this time out. Let's wrap this up. If you were watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, tip of the cap to you, because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company while I'm sitting there reading through the news or talking about a topic, what have you. But of course, I know a lot of folks out there, they don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. I really do appreciate the fact that any of you out there take time out to watch any of these videos. It really does mean a lot to me. Thank you kindly. Now, of course, if you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. And if you ring the bell, make sure you select all notifications, because not only will you be informed when the Dispatch streams live, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. I'll also let you know when I share other videos as well, such as today's unboxing and first look at the Pirate Borg starter set from Limithron and Free League Publishing. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube, such as Sammy's recent review of Pathfinder Dark Archive Remastered from Paizo Inc. Well. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and as always, I certainly hope each and every one of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.